Austin McManamy,
And what year were you born?
1924.
So how long have you lived in Dundas for?
Since 1937.
Why did you originally come to Dundas?
My dad came here to go to work, where he had learned a trade. John Bertram's and son were manufacturing here. They had where Amica is. They had their founder there, and he came and got his molding job. That he was a molder by trade, and they called him iron worker. And he got his job as an iron worker back again, where he learned to trade, and then moved the whole family down here. Yeah. School kids going through high school.
So what area of Dundas did you grow up in?
The West End.
Was your family religious at all?
Very. Mother was very religious. St. Augustine's and Dundas. And always.
How did that affect your social interactions? Did you make more friends from church and stuff, or?
No, I didn't do anything that way. Just the people through the church, but
is there any stores in the town that you particularly remember?
the one most of the kids went sold the bananas was at the A&P store in Dundas. It used to be right on King.
So when you get off the elevator to your right.
Well,
What were your parents like?
very good. Dad very strict. Very strict. He's the reason I was in the Air Force, basically, because I couldn't take his abuse, so to speak, because he told me you'd never amount to anything, amount to any good, and so on. And so
in the Air Force?
and when I turned 18, I went to my mother and said, "Mom, I can't take Dad any longer. I've had enough of him. I'm going to join the Air Force. I want to be a pilot." And that's how that came about. And
What year was that, Austin?
that'd be just after my birthday. So. In 1940. It would be 1940, yeah.
So the war had already started?
Already going, yeah. Yeah, and I was in 41, yeah. When I basically got in the Air Force, yeah.
What was that like?
That was quite an experience, being with a bunch of strange guys, all of us brand new, and we ended up at the horse stables in Exhibition Park in Toronto, and we were bunked in the stable, in stalls, the horse stalls in there, and they had bunk beds set up for us. You went and grabbed whatever bed you wanted and set yourself up then. And there were lockers next to it for your personal items and stuff. And that was the situation there.
Austin, were there other guys from Dundas that went along with
No. I was the only one from Dundas. Yeah. Funny. Experiences. I was in London, England, on leave, walking around Knightsbridge area, and bumped into a girl. She was right from Dundas, lived right across the road here.
And you bumped into her in London.
In London, in England, yeah. And she gave me a bed for the night. I didn't have a place. There was an officers' club not far away from where she lived. And we used to make reservations. I hadn't made one, so I had no room to stay, so.
So you joined, Austin, you joined the Air Force. Tell us about your training. Where did you go from Toronto, from the horse stables? Where did you go to begin your flight
To
training?
Exeter, flight training. No flight training. We ended up, Exeter was a new airport they built north of London. And it was totally mud. And they had a bunch of tiger moths stored in the hangars. They're already up. And they shipped us in there to, we stayed there for a month or two, yeah.
So you didn't do any training here in Canada?
Oh yeah. From there I went to Fort William,
Oh, I see.
and that's where I did the flying.
And so you started on the Tiger Moth,
Tiger moth,
Exeter.
no, in Fort William,
In Fort William, you started in the Tiger Moth.
so far as flying concerned,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then from where did you go?
From Exeter, from
From
Fort William. I go down to Charlottetown to learn navigation. Flew in an Anson there. I didn't do any flying, but they took it over the Atlantic, and then we practiced navigation, getting back to the station, and like that. So
You wound up flying a Sunderland. How did that happen?
that was, they told me, go out with this group, and we went on board the Sunderland. That's how that came about. And nobody told me anything. Didn't ask me or anything. They just told me, go on board that. And we went up in a group. 4 or 5 of us were together. We took us out in a group and give us our turn at the column and to do flying. So you fly just like any other airplane.
Let's get back to that.
So
Lost myself. Got
How
it.
about down here?
There we go. Thank you. Where would I be without you? Describe your favorite place in Dundas.
When you were young, where did you like to hang out? In town.
yeah, I didn't hang out anywhere. I recall. I had no hangout.
Mm-hmm.
I had no friends. One friend, Ted Sheehan, I made. And that was the only friends I had in Dundas, yeah.
What did you used to do together with Ted Sheehan?
Not much.
He-
Go out with girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now he had
Yeah.
the Valley City Dairy Bar, did he not?
His dad did, yeah.
Oh, it was his father
His father, yeah.
had the dairy.
Yeah, it has a dairy, yeah. He worked there, yeah. Yeah, and my wife ended up working there too. She was a waitress there, yeah. Yeah.
Where did you meet?
That's where I met her.
Oh, that's really.
At the Valley City Dairy Bar, making a milkshake for me, or an ice cream cone, whatever. Yeah, that's how we met.
Was that?
She lived in Greenville.
Oh,
She was a Greensville girl.
Yes. She walked down the hill to go to work, to go to school. She went to the Dundas District High School, and she go to school. She walked down to school from they lived right at the corner, right at the corner, and she used to do that walk down.
How old were you when you met your wife?
Oh, 17, 18.
So in other words, you left for the war shortly after meeting her.
Pardon?
You left for the war shortly after meeting
That's right, that's
her.
right.
You married when you came back?
Yes, but after he came back, got married in 1926. And
Very good. What else we got here?
Can you lift your feet up a bit?
Somebody from Dundas that stands out to you.
Austin, who is somebody when you were younger in town? Was there somebody in town that really stood out for you? Somebody that you remember well, a person that?
John Manny and Matt Flanagan. I don't know, did you know them?
Mr. Mahoney, that was be the father of Father Ed Mahoney?
No,
John?
his brother.
Oh, his brother. Oh,
Ed would be a brother.
yes.
And the father had the butcher shop in Dundas.
Which butcher shop was that?
Manny butcher shop.
Where was that?
Those stone places, right on King Street. On the right-hand side going west, yeah.
And the other person you remember was Mr. O'Flanagan?
Over Matt Flanagan.
Matt.
I worked for him, delivering clothes. He was dry cleaner in town, yeah. The only one. Bose was the other dry cleaner in town, but Matt was in business.
And he had a son, Michael, didn't he? Did he have a son whose name was Michael, or do you remember?
I don't remember.
Because I think his son Michael taught me in high school. He was a nut.
No, I don't know.
Austin, thinking back when you were maybe a teenager or even younger, were there some events in town that you remember as maybe looking forward to every year, or an event that happened that's very vivid in your memory?
Not
What about parades? Do you remember parades?
I don't remember seeing. Remembrance Day would be one day that you'd have a parade and so on, yeah. As they do now,
Yes.
yeah.
Is Remembrance Day in Dundas something that's very special to you as a veteran?
Oh, yes. I make sure I get to it and attend the functions, yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Is there any like major local news events that you recall happening? Like the first one you can remember?
I think they're really good with
Oh.
Is there any like changes in Dundas that you've noticed?
Well, a lot more people in Dundas. Become a good place to live. Most of them like it here. Any stranger you talk to like it around Dundas. A quaint town, an old town, yeah. With sort of, in fact, film had taken place in Dundas because of the old building. Right across that road, Frank Leonard used to live. Great big house there. And then next to him was an accountant. It's his daughter I met in London. George somebody was an accountant by trade, yeah.
So, other than the old buildings, is there something that you think, as somebody that was born and raised here, is there something that you think makes Dundas a very special place?
No name comes to my mind, no.
No, but just as a town, do you think there's something about Dundas that makes it quaint, other than just the old buildings? Is there something about the people here?
People, and in fact, it's small, not a big place. they got a nice park here. The driving park.
Did you used to spend time there?
Our kid did a lot. We lived right next door to it. We lived at 53 Cross Street, and they used to go there for their summertime play. They had a playground going, and during the summer, one time we went up to Webster Falls for a picnic. At lunchtime, I came home at lunchtime and piled them in the car and got up there. We were starting to eat, and where's Julie? One of the little girls. Oh, we left her at home. So I jumped in the car and dashed down, and sure enough, Julie was at the neighbors crying her eyes out because we'd forgotten her. Anyway, she's here today, so, but
That's great. What do you think?
I came and picked her up and took her back to the picnic, yeah.
Great. Got enough?
I think that's pretty good. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. I think we're all done.
If
Okay.
there's anything you want to say.
Anything else you want to add, Austin? About growing up in Dundas? Anything else comes to mind you want to be?
It was an excellent place to raise the children. That was for sure. And they all behaved pretty good. Pretty good, yeah.
That was, thank you so much.